Martha Kelly is a Memphian who finds artistic inspiration in her daily exercise. Kid Wilshire takes us there and shows us how she finds endless beauty in her own Midtown neighborhood.
When Memphis artist Martha Kelly takes a walk with her dog, Mr. Darcy, it's not only for exercise. Martha finds inspiration for painting along her journey with every step and sketch she takes.
I just really like the landscape that I grew up in and walk through and look at every day. I just walk to church and I see something different that I want to paint.
You see, Martha calls this Midtown neighborhood home. She finds beauty here that many Memphians often take for granted.
I like old houses. I like walking places because I walk to church. I can walk to Overton Square. I walk to restaurants and I can see things that I want to paint when you're going really slowly instead of zipping past in a car. I just really like this neighborhood and I like parking my car and not using it for several days.
And when a house or landscape catches her eye, this may be all she needs to sketch a plan for a new painting.
It's a way of transferring the beauty that I see around me. And I think especially in Memphis, we have an awful lot of people here who think, oh, I'm going to work really hard for about 50 weeks and then I'm going to go somewhere beautiful. And I've spent a lot of years just painting both the city of Memphis and the beautiful rolling farmlands with the big old oak trees. And I really want to show everyone the beauty that we have here.
It all started in her teenage years when she took a class in painting and discovered the beauty of watercolors.
I took a summer class for young teens over at the College of Art. And I was painting a watercolor of a statue over there that's still sitting out front. And the colors mixed on the paper in a way that was better than anything I had expected. And I thought, wow, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. And I really think at that point I started working towards being an artist.
Adding even more dimension to her approach to art, Martha studied religious history in college. This is when she became fascinated with the imagery of the Bible. She served as artist-in-residence at Idlewild Presbyterian Church, where she could express her spiritual side.
I don't usually use a lot of text in my work. This has really come from printmaking. I never did this in painting until I started printing and using the type. But for this particular work and to have some scripture reference in the work that's hanging in our worship space, it seemed right for this particular project.
Martha gives life to her sketches with watercolors. She blends in her education, experiences, travels, and faith. So now, rather than painting, she's prepared for printing.
I will sit and I will look at my watercolor, my drawing for a while, and make sure it's exactly what I want. And then I use a carbon transfer paper and I trace the back of the drawing and transfer it to the block. And then I just carve it with little gouges. Once you carve it out, everything that you cut away stays white and everything you leave catches the ink. So you roll the ink, you're making a really big rubber stamp, basically. You roll the ink on it, you put the paper down, and somehow you put pressure on the back of the paper. And if you're lucky enough to have a press, which I am now, that's a beautiful thing.
And once it's off the press, the anticipation is over. Well, not really. It's usually back to the carving board for fine-tuning until it's just right. Martha's beautiful linoleum prints vary from landscapes and people to posters and cards. But it's this 100-year-old printing press that seems to conjure up all kinds of new creative possibilities.
It's a 1909 Treadle-operated press. And I bought it from a guy who bought it from a press restorer. And he had traced back the history of the press, and it was bought by a minister in St. Louis who used it to print his church bulletins. It's just neat to have a press that has that kind of community history. I really see myself more as a caretaker for it than an owner. I'll be passing it along to somebody and keeping it in good shape and making sure it survives, because it's a stunning piece of machinery and it's made to last.
And to make sure it does last forever, Martha must constantly maintain its gears and moving parts. just like preserving historic old neighborhoods on canvas and in prints. She wants to preserve this old piece of machinery for future generations.
This is meant to last forever. You oil approximately 37 oil ports. I mean, the owner's manual was a paragraph because they expected every printer to apprentice with a printer, so you didn't need an owner's manual. So they don't even tell you where the 37 oil ports are, approximately. But if you oil them, then the metal doesn't grind on metal and it just keeps moving.
And so does Martha. She keeps moving around the inner city neighborhood she loves. Yes, they may be homes, businesses, parks, or schools, but to Martha, they represent more. It's the spirit of community she tries to capture every time she and Mr. Darcy take a walk.
I really do just walk out of the house every day and think, oh, this is beautiful. I live in a gorgeous place, and I just want to be able to show people the world that I see. And the best compliment, every once in a while, somebody will call up and say, there was a gorgeous sunset and I thought that's a Martha sky, or I saw these clouds and that's a Martha sky, or, you know, this reminded me of your work. And I feel like if I can make people look just a little more closely and differently at the world around them, then I've done a really good job as an artist.